So, have you ever wondered how cyclists ride long distances and know where to go? I'm going to talk to you about a couple ways that they do that. So, one of the ways you can do that is electronic devices, electronic GPS devices like a phone or these GPS units. This is the Garmin Edge 1000. This is the Garmin Montana 700i. Some people also use paper maps and they orient themselves based on landmarks and or intersections or shops on the trail based on where they're at. Now, I prefer to use electronic means such as such as these GPSs, like a dedicated GPS unit, and I'll tell you why. Why most people ask me, why don't you just use Google Maps or ride with GPS or something like that? And the reason is because if you use anything on your phone, it drains the battery for one, so you can't call for help if you need it. If you have a breakdown or something, you need someone to come get you, or you just want to check your bank account, see if you got the funds to actually buy something while you're out. You can't, because you just killed your battery running it for 5 hours just to do navigation. So, and things like Google Maps, their routing really sucks for cycling. So even though you have Google Maps set for cycling, it pretty much tells itself anything but an interstate highway is fair game. For example, I could be riding along a normal route that I ride and I have it set to go to a store or something nearby, and it'll try to take me down like a farmer's driveway that's a gravel road and private property, which is not the way you want to go when you're riding a velomobile. And I had both of these set the same way to avoid gravel roads and to lock on to roads. I get pretty good directions with both of these, but occasionally the Edge 1000 routing will try to take me down gravel roads, even though I have it set for lock on road, avoid avoid unpaved roads. I don't know why, it just does. So I tried the same thing yesterday between these two devices. This one I'm kind of just testing out to see if I like it. I'm gonna end up returning it for a refund because it's not good enough for what I need it to do. It doesn't do everything I need it to do for cycling wise. I'm gonna get into that. So first, let's start off with the Garmin Edge 1000. This GPS I've had since 2014, so it's 2022 now. So about 6 years. It was June of 2014, June or July 2014 when I bought this guy. And this thing has been durable, reliable, all around it's been good. I mean, you can look at the screen. The screen's not even scratched. And it's not like I have dropped this thing. I've flipped my bike over on the handlebars with the GPS on, and the screen didn't get scratched at all. Like right around the bezels, it got scratched a little bit here, but not on the screen itself. Another good thing about this thing is it gives you what's called cycling dynamics. So if I switch over to this screen here, this will tell me my real-time power output on each side of on each pedal. And the reason why that's important is because you need to know that your power is being evenly distributed. You don't want like 60% being distributed here and 40% being distributed here, because you're probably going to end up with a sore knee if you just do that. So that allows you to tweak your form in real time. And then you have platform center offset. So this is very helpful because it actually helps you set your platform on your shoes. So on the bottom of your shoes, you have cleats that you can move left, right, up, and down. And this will tell you what direction you need to move it based on how you're riding. Now, this can vary if you have your foot twisted in the cleat or whatnot. So if you just partially snap in or float 6 degrees, it can offset that. And then it also tells you when you're putting out your power. So you can try to focus on getting it through the form. So that's what this power phase is here, this arc here. It tells you when your power is being applied. Now, ideally, you want an even power being provided throughout this entire stroke. For most of your stroke, you want even power distribution is what you're going to aim for. You want it at the top, sides, bottom, but obviously it's not going to be that. So it tells you where your peak is, and it tells you, so the peak is going to be this darker bar here, and the other part's going to be just where your power is. So usually mine goes across the bottom here, and usually starts a little bit off center here, and goes down like that. That's how most people are. Most people only do about half turn for their stuff. This one also has an elevation chart. So if I was riding, it would have like the green mountain chart here. Virtual partner, I've already gone through that. Compass, for those who want to use like a paper navigation, this could help you with that, but in order for this to work, you actually have to walk in one direction, and this thing can navigate you wherever you want to go. Maps are pretty detailed. You can install different maps on here. However, I'll get to that later about why you shouldn't do that. Another thing you can do with this one that I like is, if I go to calendar, you'll see that it has my training schedule in there. So all I gotta do is click on the day, ride, and it'll tell me how much time I have to go. Now this is a Power Zone 2 day, so I would be riding in Power Zone 2 for 2 hours. But on days like, I'll say it's a Thursday. Yeah, Thursday should be intervals. So on days like this, it'll tell you what your training steps are. And when you hit restart, so this actually gives you your current power and how much time you have in that step. And what you want to do is you keep it in that green zone. And I use a power meter to do this. So it's real time. It's not like heart rate where it's like, it could be like 30 seconds delayed. This is real time power that you're putting out the pedals. And as long as you keep it in the green, you're good. You're keeping it in line with your workout. It's okay to go into yellow sometimes, but you really want to keep it in the green. Red, it means you're in the next power zone that you're not supposed to be in. Now, it'll automatically change to zone 2 for the next step, and then I'm pretty sure it goes up to 4 and 5 for intervals for this one. Another thing you can do is you can program courses and you get travel live segments in here. But you can see, this is my list of workouts that I have to do. And that's one thing I like about the Garmin Edge 1000. Another thing is, this uses GLONASS GPS. So if I go into settings, and I think it's system. No. There's a way to turn on your GPS. What GPS tracker you want to use. Maybe it's under. And this just tells me what all the sensors are connected. So this thing, you connect power, cadence, heart rate, pretty much any ANT plus sensor to it. You can do group tracking, so multiple people have Garmin's, you can do a group track. You can automatically upload your activities through Wi-Fi using this, which I have mine set up for my Wi-Fi. And each GPS you can program in user stats that are like your functional threshold power, which this GPS will actually help you calculate your functional threshold power automatically. You don't have to manually set it. So you do a few rides and it starts setting your functional threshold power, which is important for getting those power zones down. I think it's called IPO4 power zones, and that's what this uses. This thing also uses heart rate zones that you can program. You can either do manually or it will do it automatically. In that case, a list of all your ride histories in here. So that's what I like about this GPS. What I don't like about this GPS is this GPS screen's small. Okay? Battery doesn't last as long as it used to 6 years ago. The map is a little bit difficult to manipulate. So when you go to manipulate this map, you gotta tap it to wake it up, press the hand, and then you move it around. But you can kind of see that it's not, you gotta tap it again to actually be able to move it around and see stuff. But you can see that the map takes a little bit to load, and it's not very detailed the way it is right now. And that's because I have used more detailed maps on this for hunting and hiking, which this thing can do hiking activities. You Yeah, you can't really use it for driving, even though it has a driving mode that has road navigation for your car. Because, I mean, look at this. If I went 60 miles an hour and on the highway, it would be a little laggy and be kind of like all over the place. So that's why I would say don't use this for that, because the processor in this thing is not very fast. Apparently, they supposedly upgraded the processor in the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus. Now, I don't have the 1030 Plus because they're due to release another Garmin later this year if their trends are suggestive to anything. So people are rumoring that it's going to be an Edge 1040, but the way things have been going with COVID and stuff is that it probably isn't going to get released this year like that. They're probably going to do an update to the current model Garmin Edge 1030 Plus, which I've already seen the beta update for the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus. It's in the beta stage, so it hasn't been publicly released yet. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And that's the only reason that I'm not getting the 1030 Plus right now, is because I don't want to get the Edge 1030 Plus. They're just going to release a new unit in a couple months, because it's been a couple years since they released a unit. And usually it's about a year or two, or about 2 years that they release a new unit. Another thing I don't like about this unit is about 5 years into it, the buttons started rattling. So let me see if we can hear it if I just shake it. That's these two buttons right here rattling. And right there, you can hear it. And that happens when you're riding down the road. And initially when I started hearing it, when I actually started noticing it last year, I thought something was wrong with my bike. I'm like looking at the hub and everything, because all I hear is like a clank, like a little jiggle. And I'm thinking maybe it's the fork, maybe it's the hub on the front. I'm just looking all over, and I realize it's the GPS rattling, because I'm not used to it making any sounds. When I bought it, it was good. Another thing to know about the Garmin Edge 1000 is power button. They wear out. They supposedly fixed this on the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus, but right now I chopped up zip ties and put them in there and covered it with Flex Seal to keep it waterproof. So that's one thing you gotta know about the Edge 1000. Another thing I don't like about it is it's really hard to find things I don't like about it. It's very portable, and I mean, it comes with a mount, this quick detach mount here that just straps to your handlebar. And that's how all Garmin's come. They all come with that, like cycling GPSs, they all come with that stuff. And this thing almost never lets me down. I can use it for hiking and bike riding. I have used it for ATV riding when I uploaded Onyx off-road maps on here. But again, the map was too laggy, so it wasn't very accurate. So I had to take those maps off because it wasn't good enough. The unit itself wasn't fast enough to handle it. But now that we've done the dedicated cycling GPS, let's go over to the Garmin Montana 700i. So this Garmin Montana 700i, it's called the 700i because of InReach, which is spelled with an I, which is satellite communication capabilities. So if I go home, it should be either way. You can send text messages if you pay for a subscription, have SOS capabilities if you flip that cover open and push the button. So this itself is not the button. So don't worry about accidentally pressing that. You have to flip this open, and there's a button all the way down in there, so you can't accidentally press it. And you can always cancel the SOS if you do accidentally press it. It just says for emergency use only. Now, when I used this yesterday for a ride in my local area alongside the Garmin Edge 1000, One thing I noticed is that the Montana 700i, it was set for the same routing options, same settings as the Garmin Edge 1000. The Montana actually did avoid the gravel roads, whereas the Edge 1000 tried to take me down the gravel roads. So this guy kind of failed me there. But that doesn't mean that the 700i was better. So when it came to going up the side of a mountain, the Montana actually wouldn't get signal. It would just lose satellite and nothing. You would have nothing. And it just wouldn't do anything. The Garmin Edge 1000 actually still had full signal. So the Garmin Edge 1000 wins when it came to maintaining satellite signal. And that's partially because the Garmin Edge 1000 has GLONASS technology, which allows it to get satellite coverage under tree cover and tunnels. So if you're just temporarily out of satellite view, it has GLONASS satellites that actually help track your location with I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I do know that it does work. Because I noticed with older Garmins I had, like the Edge 25, if I went into dense tree cover, it would lose signal. This does not. I haven't gone into dense tree cover yet with the Montana, but yesterday it was on the side of a mountain, so I'm assuming the mountain was blocking the GPS signal a little bit for a couple satellites, and it just said satellites lost constantly. However, when it came to tracking low speeds, the Garmin Montana was better at tracking low speeds. The Garmin Edge 1000 wouldn't track anything under 3 miles an hour since the updates it's been getting. I don't know why I have it set for never stop. Literally my profile thing. Never stop. It doesn't stop recording because it comes from the factory with an auto stop recording under 2.5 miles an hour. That's turned off. But it just says 0 miles an hour, and it'll still record the elevation, my cadence, heart rate, power, everything else comes in. It's just, it all shows up under 0 distance. So it has to be showed in time, over time, otherwise you don't get any useful information. Which sucks because you can't get an accurate gradient when you're going under 3 miles an hour with this thing. And it's not that I wasn't capable of it, because last year when I did the same ride, same speed, it was able to record 2 mile an hour. This year, something with the updates made it that it can't record anymore. Stupid. I don't know why Garmin messed that up. Back to the Montana though. The Montana, when going up the side of the mountain, I had to hold it up in the air to get good satellite to be able to record the low speed. But I was able to record the low speed at 2 miles an hour. But if I put it like down like this on my bicycle, it would lose signal. I don't know why. It probably because it's covered by my body and we're on the side of a mountain, but it would just lose signal and wouldn't record anything. So that's really a lacking area. But like I said, the size of the screen's actually very bright compared to the Garmin Edge 1000. So the Garmin Edge 1000, if you can tell, side by side, they're at the same brightness right now. But when I pull this down, you see that's only about 60%. If I pull this down, I go all the way up to max, you can see that this screen's actually a lot brighter. One thing I don't like about the Montana is, you press that, turns the backlight off. So what do you do when you're, in the dark? You can't see that. I mean, you're sitting there trying to hit the screen and everything, and then you see how it goes up like that? You can only see it because it's in direct sunlight. But you can't see anything at night. You have to get a flashlight on it. You have to scroll down, and you have to find that and put it back on. I don't like that. I think that they should have a feature where if you accidentally turn the backlight off, you should be able to hit the power button and it temporarily turns the backlight back on. Now, I know I'm not going to really say that's a big complaint because most people run these that the backlight's not always on. But for cycling reasons, you have to run the backlight all the time. So this is cycling specific. But normally people have the backlight on a timer with this GPS because they use it for hiking, so they pull it out once in a while to look at it in the sunlight, and then they put it back in their pocket. So having backlight that's auto backlight on a timer works good for that. However, this one does not have a sensor, so it doesn't do auto brightness, which I think would be a huge battery saver for this, is having auto brightness, so it can actually auto dim itself for uses on motorcycles and boats and stuff like that. That can actually auto dim its own backlight. But I can see why they didn't do that, because they kind of made this a do-it-all GPS, Navigator. And I say Navigator because it excels at navigating. It doesn't excel anywhere else other than navigating. So it's a do-everything GPS without being a purpose-built GPS, if that makes sense. So, like, this is great for navigating on a bicycle, but it's not good for, I can't upload my training plans to this, so you can see there's no way to upload a training plan. This thing, I cannot track my power or record my power output on this thing. It doesn't give me power zones or cycling dynamics like the Edge does. And the Edge is actually older. The Edge 1000 is actually older than the 700. Now, that's not to say that the Montana 700i is not capable of that. It's capable of it. It's just software doesn't allow it, which is stupid. Garmin should have put that on here. It should have put it on there as an option or an aftermarket software that you can buy for it. They should have done that. I think a lot of bicycle touring riders would use this, like bike packers and stuff like that. They would use this unit instead of an Edge, because the size of the display, the ease of use map. I mean, look at this processor. I mean, it just does it without any. It's like scrolling on your phone. It is the best way to put it. The screen's amazing. The display is awesome. It's high def display. It's got pretty much everything you would need. It's even got a freaking built-in flashlight. So if I scroll down, you can see this. It's a flashlight on the back there. And actually on the flashlight, you can adjust the brightness of the flashlight. It's really, really cool. What this thing has on here that the Edge doesn't have also is you have active weather on here. So you hit active weather, and it brings it up here, and it'll actually get a radar on your current position. And it does this through your phone. So it uses your phone data to get the accurate weather, and it tells you detailed weather, cloud cover, your temperature. Of course, you get each one of these, you gotta wait for it to load. What the wind is going to be. And what you do is you pick a setting and you hit this play button. And it's very similar to what you see on the Weather Channel app, but on here you can actually zoom in to your exact location and get the weather that way and what time of day it expects that weather. The Garmin Edge 1000 has this feature where it's just basic weather. So you can see on the Edge 1000, if I scroll down, actually it's not there. Where is it? I think it's in IQ apps. I must have removed it. But this had a weather app on here that would tell you what the current weather is, pretty much just temperature-wise. And it's not really needed. It tells you temperature and whether or not to expect rain. The Garmin Edge 1000 has a built-in thermometer, as you can see. It says 87 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think it's quite 87 degrees Fahrenheit in here, but we'll just leave it as it is. But that's one thing that the Garmin Montana lacks, is the Garmin Montana doesn't have an internal temperature sensor. So that kind of sucks. Because you want to know what temperature it is where you are without using your weather app. Now this thing can actually get weather through InReach. So if I hit add page, these are all of the functions it has on here. So this is for geocaching. It has different profiles for different specific topics. So this thing can be used for boating. Which is the man overboard, hunting and fishing. So it can be used for hunting, hiking, even aviation, like flying. This thing can be hooked up to aviation systems and be used for that. It can be used to remotely track your dog with the Garmin GPS tracker. It can be used to control the Garmin Verb camera. So the Garmin Zero is actually related to the bow. So you can use Zero for bow and shooting, for rifle or bow, rifle or archery. So what a Zero does is, in archery, the Archery Zero site actually will track where your arrow should have impacted at. So, and then you hit this, and it should, in theory, if you had your Zero hooked up to this, you would be able to track to where your arrow hit to potentially find the blood trails and whatnot of your quarry, or if you shot your arrow in a direction and you don't know where it hit, this will help you find your arrow and get it back. So no more wasting $10 arrows, $12 arrows. You can just go find it. And then it has this feature called InReach Weather. So InReach Weather, this is how you get weather without data. However, you need to have a InReach subscription to use that, which costs about $50 a month for unlimited. And even then, it doesn't give you detailed weather. It's $1 every time you want detailed weather. It'll give you basics, but not detailed. Another thing it has is InReach. Not where to. So InReach is pretty much like a SMS service through satellite. And what that does is, once you get the subscription, which is $50 a month for unlimited stuff, there's lower subscriptions, but if you go over the subscription limits, it charges you a lot of money. So it's best just to buy the unlimited, $50 a month, if you wanted to use this subscription. And I would only recommend that for people who are backpacking and are going to be out of service for 2 to 3 days at a time. But even then, those people, they tend not to talk to people. They just turn their phones on when they get into town, when they can recharge stuff. So it's not really good for that. I guess it's good if you're out hunting and you get shot by another hunter. You can flip the SOS and call for help. And that actually alerts emergency services. So don't ever push that unless you absolutely need it. If you just want to do something non-emergency, you use the InReach and text whoever you want, whoever contacts you got. The downside to this thing, it's big, it's heavy. It does not come with a mount. So I got this Velcro on the back here, and what I do is I Velcro it to my Velomobile, the inside of my Velomobile. And that's kind of how I have it mounted now. I do that because Velcro is temporary. You can always just peel it off, when you're done using it. And it doesn't leave too much residue behind. You can usually clean it up pretty good. Other than that, I can say that this thing is IPX7 waterproof, same as the Garmin Edge 1000. Except this thing, I want to say, the charging port is very, very flimsy. I mean, this thing looks like it's about to tear the fuck off right now. I don't want to use a Garmin charging port. I just feel like that's going to tear off. Now, if you're using this for motorcycle riding, which is another thing this thing is good for, it has a mount with a built-in charger. So actually, you can set this thing up to be oriented this way. So you can see if I rotate it that way, it just acts like a regular car GPS. And that's good for mounting it. They have a mount, clips there and down there, and it mounts to your handlebars like that. But that mount is not easily removable. So it bolts onto your handlebars. And it stays there. You can use it for motorcycle riding, touring. They also have a suction cup mount that you put on the window of your car. So this can be used for car navigation. You can set up the power settings to actually turn the GPS on whenever the power is connected to it, and turn it off after the power is disconnected from it. So you'll always have a fully charged battery on this when you're doing that stuff, and you can get off your motorcycle or whatever you're using to charge it and walk around, use it for hiking or something. This thing has very detailed maps. It has topographical maps available. It has, for example, amusement park maps. You scroll to an amusement park on here, like Knoebels Resort, and it'll actually have the ride locations, like the rides inside the park locations on the maps on this, which I found was pretty neat. So, like I said again, the Garmin Montana is great for navigation overall. Not really good for people looking to train on a bicycle. So that's what's kind of making it not work for me. And that's what's going to make me end up passing on the Montana for now. And I want to get the Garmin Edge 1030 1030 Plus, because there is a difference between the Garmin Edge 1030 and 1030 Plus. The Garmin Edge 1030 Plus has a faster processor and a better screen quality than the Garmin Edge 1030. So I'm assuming the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus is going to be like this screen quality with this processor, but in a small form like the Garmin Edge 1000, and have a little bit more cycling specific features than the Garmin Edge 1000, such as built-in bicycle alarm. So while on the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus, if it senses vibration, it'll send an alert to your phone when you're nearby via Bluetooth, saying, hey, someone's trying to steal your bike. However, Garmin Edge 1000, you can use this for, this thing's cycling specific. So you can use it for driving navigation. You can use, but I wouldn't use it for driving navigation or anything high speed. You can use this thing for geocaching if you upload the appropriate maps. However, the programs that are set on here don't let you access the map directly. So you can see you have to pick a profile, go into an activity, and go to the map. And then you have to select the appropriate map layer if you want to do geocaching. So I would not advise this as a general GPS for hiking. You can use it for hiking. It'll help you get your way back. If you just hit follow the same route back, it'll do that with backtrack. But it's more meant for cycling on the road. Trails, I found it not to be helpful at all, whereas the Garmin Montana actually has trails built into its map. So that's a good thing, because it can actually navigate you on ATV trails, dirt bike trails, whatnot. So that's one of the positives of the Montana is better maps. But these maps, they're about 6 gigabytes in size. So to put them on the Garmin Edge 1000 and have the Edge 1000 process, it's going to have a hard time. Again, it comes down to a processor issue on the Edge 1000. Honestly, I wouldn't even be looking to upgrade this Edge 1000 had this power button not failed on me and the buttons weren't rattling. But for and the battery life seems to be dying on this thing, so I can probably get 4 or 5 hours out of this device right now, since I used it last year with a solar panel. The solar panel seems to have messed up the battery. So I know if I run it without the backlight, it will run longer, but the Montana, I can expect to get about 10 hours out of it on a single charge at the current brightness settings. So at 60%, I would expect to get at least 10 hours out of it. Yesterday, I took it for about 3 hours, and it lasted pretty good. But, putting the backlight down would help. Having the backlight on a timer would help. Again, I didn't do those things because I wanted an accurate comparison, because I keep my backlight on my Garmin inside my Velomobile because it's hard to see in the daylight. If I don't, because it'll just detect that it's dark and dim the backlight and I can't see it. So I did the same on this. And again, great GPS. And actually on this GPS, one of the other features that I do like about it is you can actually change out the battery on this. So you can buy multiple lithium ion batteries, and if this thing dies on the trail, just swap it out. Simple as that. And then you got a new battery to go with. This one, nope, can't swap out the battery. You have to hook up an external power supply, which is done through this. And honestly, I didn't think this cover was going to hold up either, but it's been 5 years and that cover's held up fine. Now, these zip ties are in there because it does not let you turn it off otherwise. Because the button once this cover peels off in the factory, the button's all the way down the side and you can't touch it anymore. The reason why I have this strapped to a piece of Velcro is, again, I use Velcro on my Velomobile because there's no bars to really attach things to, so I just put the inside of the Velomobile and it sticks. It's great for that. But overall, for cycling, I have to give it to the Garmin Edge 1000. Because solely for the purpose of cycle training, which is a very important part to getting ready for your tour and everything, the Garmin Edge 1000 is a must-have. If you're using a power meter, the Garmin Edge 1000 is a must-have. Because without this, you can't record it. If you're using the Montana, it doesn't let you record your power meter, your power output, doesn't let you upload any training plans. It does let you use your heart rate zones, but again, like I said, those are up to 30 seconds delayed. This thing is great for cyclists who are specifically using it for navigation while touring. So as far as touring goes, this thing would be my pick if I was doing touring all the time. But before I do my tours, I gotta do my training, so without a way to do the training, it kind of makes it useless. Because I can't do the tour if I don't train for the tour. You know what I mean? It's not cycling specific. It's a Navigator. Okay? And I will leave it at that it's a navigation tool. A very good navigation tool. This thing's very fast and accurate. Compared to the Garmin Edge 1000. Compared to the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus. I don't know how well that's going to compare to that, but I hope to find out whenever I can find one. Well, thanks for watching, guys.